Hello and welcome to Ranked Ramble, episode 8, the metagame breakdown for October for Pioneer, and by extension Explorer since we're here. So, Wizards recently released an article, we're going to go through it here, the metagame mentor, covering Pioneer with the recent regional championships in both China and Australia. So, first of all, we should just say that I believe the Boros Heroic run in Australia, and I believe in China it was Rakdos Sacrifice that took down the whole tournament. They gave us a full meta breakdown and discussion of everything going on in there, so let's talk into it. So, they say that the submitted lists had 372 distinct deck lists. Well, not distinct, sorry, 372 deck lists submitted across the two regional championships. Now, they claim that there were some mislabeled archetypes, and so they've adjusted its things. And we see an interesting shift in the meta. So, no surprise, number one, Rakdos midrange. 15% with a 51% win rate. Now, very solid there. It's currently not the menace, but it's one of the most represented fields. Now, obviously, if you combine that with Rakdos Sacrifice, that comes up to about 20% of the meta. And I think that's a fair assumption considering Rakdos Sacrifice took down one of the tournaments. The interesting field from this was that 51% win rate. So, I feel the meta is adjusting, we know what Rakdos is capable of, and we are dealing with it. Now, we are getting a new set, and there's probably going to be more toys in there. One of the things I've noticed is there appear to be a few hate cards that are pumped out specifically to hate on instant speed interaction, so that could give Rakdos a boost. They are in red and black, if I believe correctly. But I'm not an expert on the deck, so I don't want to make the cut. The second most played deck, which I was quite interested with, was Izzet Phoenix. Now, I have seen this come up a couple of times recently. They had a total percentage of the field of 9.4% and a 52.5%, which I think is definitely up there in terms of the win ratage. I think it's second or third, it's in the top of the win percentages, but it's not in the meta huge field. Next we have our Mono Green Devotion, sworn enemy of my existence, coming in at 8.3% with a 49.5 win percent. Now I've got to remember these are adjusted for obviously taking out the non-mirror, sorry, these are for the non-mirror, non-buy, non-draw, so we have to see where that goes. Fourth was Lotus Field combo, 7%. Mono White Humans came up at 6.5%, and Boros Convoke, the Boros aggro deck that took it down, came up at 5.9%. Then we saw Abzan Griefrang at 7th most played at 4.8%, and Rakdos Sacrifice coming down at 4% of the play field. Now, looking at this, I mean, I'm obviously very upset because Rona to Light and Omnath to Light have become the new Bring to Light decks, but I'm still going to play because he's absolutely my favourite deck. Now, interestingly, looking down the list, the highest win rate actually came from Azorius Control. I'm very impressed, and it was closely followed by Izzet Creativity, which, doesn't surprise me. These were smaller played decks with better fields. Now, according to them, there was an 11.6% other that included Waste Not variants. That's cool. Jeskai Sensi combo. Surprised that hasn't come back. Variations on Griefrang, variations on mid-range, Celestia Angels. Ooh, a fall from grace for that deck. Boros Humans, Bant Field Lotus, and Goblins and Elves. Very impressive. Now they say that they are following last week's regional championships and similar trends compared to the previous one we saw previously. Izzet Phoenix saw a massive upward trajectory. Now, we did know they got Sleight of Hand. They also got the Fairy Picklocket Prankster, which basically gives them another 2 mana spell that mills their cards, like the Saga from Dominaria United. Yeah, and those are some very powerful additions to that deck that's slowly ticking it up. Now that, they claim, means that well-positioned decks such as Lotus Field combo have ticked up. I don't know if Lotus has a great match against Phoenix. I suppose like they can't interact with their lands as much. I'd say that's just a race to the finish, those two decks, because they both have a target they're going for. And neither of them truly interact greatly, because I don't believe Bajuka Bog is legal, no, not in this format. So, I'm wondering, yes. Such as those fields combo have ticked up. Decks that struggle against this at Phoenix, such as Azorius Spirits, have ticked down. Yeah. Oh, and this is an interesting point they make here. Decks that have ticked down. Finally, Rakdos midrange is better against Phoenix than Rakdos Sacrifice. Sheoldred is starting to eclipse Mayhem Devil in popularity. What? When has Mayhem Devil been higher than Sheoldred? Let's be real. Mayhem Devil exists purely in the Sacrifice decks. Sheoldred existed in both Sacrifice and in the main midrange deck. And yes, Sheoldred is a death sentence for the Phoenix deck, because most of their spells, like Charter Course, Rumble spells, their draw and discard effects, yeah, Sheoldred out shuts that entire deck down. Now, let's see what they say in regards to that. That point seems very mute to me. I mean, let's be real. Sheoldred is suddenly getting more popular than Mayhem Devil. The mythic Sheoldred that's like terrible. Yeah, that one's just confused me. Other moonways provided against the table for competitiveness, no archetype performed significantly better or worse than 50% against the field. True, the highest was 60%. Due to the relatively small sample size, the difference between the observed win rates could be due to natural variation. No strong conclusions can be drawn. So they're saying that they can't take enough from this data. But again, another tournament where, you know, the most played decks is a Rakdos variant, and the current new boy on the field that everyone wants to play is at Phoenix because they've pumped in new spells in blue to help with it, gets hated out by the all-star of that deck. Now, I don't want Izzet Phoenix to run rampant. I do not want it anywhere near the power level it had in Modern back in the day. But, again, they say that Pioneer metagame appears reasonably well balanced, and I will to an extent agree with that. As I said before, Pioneer to me feels relatively good, but I think that, as I said, of course, I'm calling for the Khan ban as a preemptive ban. For example, Lost Caverns of Ixalan just spoiled a 5-mana enchantment that literally cascades in the end step after you play it, which is now going to give Khan a wishboard, card advantage, colorless spell that can shoot, you know. How many more ridiculous artifacts are we going to throw into a Khan board before we realize that we really just should not have Khan in the format? Because you're just going to end up banning card after card. But, you know, that's a rant that I went on previously, so we'll go for. So, let's have a look at some of these decks here. So, Boros Heroic. Oh, it was Boros Heroic that took it down. So, let's see what they had. Dreadhorde Arcanist, Swift Spear, 10th District Legionnaire. No Feather in this, which is interesting. It looks like they've dropped off Feather and gone purely in a 2-drop pure aggro. Yes, every spell here is 1 mana or less. New additions include the Monstrous Rage from Eldraine. It's a very good inclusion. Sideboard, looks like they've brought in Rest in Peace, a little bit of card advantage with Showdown of the Skulls, Renee for protection, and they're running a Gigantha. So, Brendan crushed the top 8 with this deck. This deck slaps, he says. Well, you took down the tournament, so I'd agree with that statement. Recent additions from Eldraine gave big boosts, yes. Whew, that's the most detail they can give, is that he just crushed top 8 finals with it. I will have to find that video and have a look into it. We saw Boros Convoke come through as well. This is a very similar deck we've seen very few times here. Using Gleeful Demolition to pump out a bunch of creatures for Reckless Bushwhacker, Knight of Eros, Venerated Loxodon. They're also pumping in Fallias to protect their creatures. It is a very strong deck. I am actually very impressed with it. I think that another Gigantha. Oh no, another Gigantha in the sideboard. Oh, please don't tell me they're going to try and get my boy banned because they think that that's the power of these aggro decks that never get enough lands to really play Gigantha. Well, Boros Heroic clinched the trophy, sorry. Man, I'm going back and forth here. Boros Heroic clinched the trophy, but the Boros deck also had great results in top 8. Yeah, they both made top 8 with this deck. Gleeful Demolition is like a black Lotus, but with Goblin Friends, one of the players noted. Then we have Gruul Vehicles. We've seen this deck a lot recently. Obviously, Ezeka's Chariot is an insanely powerful card and really good. Looks like this variation dropped the Skyship Sovereign for Huntsman's Redemption. Suppose tutoring out a creature in a very creature heavy deck is very good. And yep, there's Fable. So, winning decks weren't playing too much Fable. We have Ataka Red making a return, another deck they've said here. So, Ataka Red running a single copy of Embercleave, and it's basically an aggro burn deck, similar, using Questing Druid here, 2 copies in the main from Eldraine to gain card advantage. Very solid. And as well as Godric, the Cloaked Revealer. Yep. Good aggro cards. So Eldraine did make a good impression from what we've seen here. We've seen a lot of powers, and then we have the other. So Ataka Red did not come near the top standings this weekend, but it may be poised to break through soon. The deck won the last chance in China several months ago, showing its power. Questing Druid, Godric make the appearances from the new set, and Witch's Frenzy. I don't even think I've seen this card. Instant that can do 5 damage to a target creature. It costs 1 less for each creature that's attacked this turn. Hyper efficient removal. Yeah, very solid for that deck. Let's look at Rakdos Sacrifice, the other deck that took down our other deck this turn. Honestly, nothing new seems to be put in this deck. It's literally exact same again. Fable, Deadly Disputes, nope. Let's have a look through the sideboard, see if we got any new additions from Eldraine. No. Obnixilus in the sideboard is always cool. Filigree Silex is an interesting point. Ever adopting Thoughtseize. After adopting Thoughtseize. When did the Rakdos deck not run Thoughtseize? Am I missing a point here? Rackdown became this breakdown deck several months ago, and he won last week's regional race. The deck is strong, suits my playstyle, and is well positioned in the metagame. Quote from the champion. Crush, yes. For example, China with slightly more mono white humans, a slightly less field combo. Really considers across regions. A deck, yeah. It's a very long. It's a very long thing saying, yes, we are very diverse, but however, Rakdos is consistent throughout the entire diversity, and then tried to say how diversity was different, saying that China's field had more humans, less Lotus field, while the other tournaments had more aggro or less combo. But yeah, it doesn't suit the thing of saying things are not, yes. So the last one I want to look at very quickly here is the Izzet Creativity, which you might remember won the previous one with Reed Duke with this Pro Tour. So let's see if that's been changed up in any way. First thing I noticed here is this deck version seemed to be running Torrential Gearhulk over the 2-card combo of the World Spire Worm and Xenagos. I think that's a better shout for the deck. It's then using the strategy we used to see on Arena, where they would cycle a Magnum Opus, well, discard it for a treasure and then ramp it out and then cast that to gain plenty of bodies. It has better staying power and less less breakability, because I know there's a lot of enters tapped effects, for example like Authority of the Console that shut down the Xenagos combo and gives people a turn. Also Vanishing Verse on the World Spire Worm if they don't hold up the protection, or if you can force that through to just get rid of it. Basically breaks that deck and doesn't give them a chance to do anything. So let's see what they say about this. He went 6-2 with the Creativity deck, coming 1 win short of the top 8. Torture Tower is the new addition, yes. 2 damage to any target creature or planeswalker if the spell was bargained. Instead it's 3 damage and you get to scry 1. And exile it instead if it dies, yep. Oh, and they have a sideboard of Traxxer, the Grand Unifier. Yep, that's another advantage engine there. Just refill your hand, get your spells back up. It's pretty solid. Torch the Tower is the answer to the Arclight Phoenix. Yeah, burn spells that now exile Arclight to make it way easier to deal with and gives you plenty of stuff for bargaining fodder. Yeah, I think that that's a pretty cool version, but it's nice to see that we've gone back to the grindier version as the all-in-one combo deck that like Reed took out in the previous one. So let's see their conclusion before we wrap things up here. Looking ahead, the keys to success in Pioneer remain preparation, innovation, and choosing a deck that matches your playstyle. Okay, lip service, let's keep going. With enough practice, anyone can qualify and make their way. Okay, I will address that in a minute. Yet, this article showed small innovations and adaptations can account for the Rise of the Phoenix and Lotus Field combo, can improve your chances of success as well. Yeah, that should be, that is the indication to me of a healthy format, is that if you have to be aware of your local format. For example, if we are playing in a super heavy field that doesn't have much combo, but runs way more aggro decks, you'll adjust like a Niv-Mizzet deck, obviously with more sweepers and removal. If you're more control heavy meta, yeah, that's a sign of healthy, that you have to adjust to your meta. The reason I would say that wouldn't be healthy is if it was the reverse. If literally just looking online at Goldfish and you instantly knew and could tell you these are the 15 cards you must put in your sideboard. So I will agree with their lip service here. A skilled player who is well versed in their deck's interactions and matchup strategies and with a well adapted list for the metagame can win almost everything. I will agree with that to a degree, but I will say that there are still horrendously bad matchups that you will struggle with even in Pioneer. As I said before, one example for me is I literally say that Mono Green Devotion is one of the worst matchups currently for us, primarily because a lot of the answers we could have to that deck can just be answered with all of their answers. Considering they now have the Miracle Land of Beseiju to blow up any kind of enchantment that was printed for the last 5 years to hate on powerful lands. But that's a point we went over previously. So look forward to seeing how the metagame keeps developing in coming weekend with Regional Land. Yeah, they've got 4 more championships coming up in the first cycle of next year. So we should see 4 more in November, and we can do this again in there. So Wizards again is saying that they feel this is a healthy existent metagame, and yes, looking at the data that they supplied here, providing it's accurate and everything was reported, nothing's outrageous here. And yes, it looks like Eldraine did make a difference, which it should. Every new set, I feel, should provide some, the key word there is some, innovation in a format like this, if it is truly healthy. And yes, Eldraine's put plenty in across a lot of different strategies of combo and aggro, I didn't see much in the control decks, but I could look through it in the future, see where things are going from there. Now, I have obviously my biases against Mono Green Devotion. As I said before, I feel that is like 2 more Karn artifacts away from becoming like a horrendous issue, but we're not there yet. And while Rakdos is very prevalent, I feel that it's not reflected as much in Explorer here. It's reflected more in Explorer here because of Arena's egregious economy only encouraging you to buy a single deck. Now, again, that's obviously what's going to happen. You have to go towards a single deck, and Rakdos rolled straight over from standard into this, which worked perfectly for them there. And so I will not begrudge anyone from playing it. But yes, win percentages look good. Feels healthy. The casual games I've played feel good as well. Yes, we will always have bad matchups, and we should. Yes, there is good diversity. Yes, there is specific hate you can call in based on the meta of your local scene, and I please hope that other people's local scenes are doing better than ours around here, because we do not have them at all. So that's our review here of the Pioneer Regional Championships for October. I hope you enjoyed this, found it insightful. I'll link the Wizards article below. I hope that you guys are having fun with Pioneer as much as other formats. But let me know how you feel about the current Pioneer/Explorer metagame here. Obviously we focus very heavily on Pioneer, but we'll address Explorer more as we go along. I enjoyed the last bit of this Rakdos match. I know I did. Spoilers.
Reload!